Alright you guys, well today I have for you this 2018 Range Rover. We'll take you around this SUV, show you what it's all about. Very nice truck. I love the styling of this Range Rover. And of course, this is the flagship model in the Land Rover lineup. Keep going around the sides here, has that nice classic boxy kind of shape to it. But we'll check out the cargo area real quick. And it has this nice split opening tailgate design. It's all power operated, which is really nice. And you got a decent cargo area. It's not anything crazy back here, but you know, it's pretty decent. You can fit some stuff in here. You also got a big spare tire under here. You also got a power outlet right there. And interestingly, you can lower the ride height. That's pretty crazy. If I hold the button, it lowers pretty quickly too. But if I want to raise it back up, it goes way back up. That is crazy. Never quite seen that before. Pretty wild, but we'll close up the trunk here. And this is one of the fastest closing power tailgates I've ever seen. So good on that end. But we'll hop into the back seat here. All right. And you know, back seat is decent, but it's not as spacious as I thought it would be. I feel like the floor is a little bit high up, so my knees kind of feel up in the air a little bit. It's doable, it's decent, but it's not like a limo or anything back here. Of course, you could get one of those like $200,000 Range Rovers where the seats are pushed further back, but this is just kind of like the standard model. But you do got two USB ports back here. You also get a few car charger outlets and your own personal climate control. And very nice materials back here. Interestingly enough, you can control either window if you press this button. So if I press this, I can roll down this window. The car is off right now, so I can't do it. I can control both the windows or just this window. So I think that's kind of a nice feature to have. Another thing you don't see too often in cars. Of course, you got this big panoramic roof, and you do got some cup holders in here, a giant console, and you do got a little storage tray right here, which is nice to have. But I think we'll show you guys under the hood real quick. All right, so this is the 3-liter supercharged V6. It makes 340 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. It is paired to an 8-speed automatic. I believe it gets around 17 city, 23 highway. So not bad for an SUV. And this is just like the standard base model Range Rover. The base model, it started around $88,000 when it was new in 2018. So for a base model, I mean, still very pricey, very expensive, especially in 2018. That was more money than it is now. But pretty standard engine bay in here. It's pretty neat, pretty nicely done. Do got a lot of covers in here though, of course. But we'll close up the hood and we'll hop inside, show you guys what this car is all about. Start it up here. Start button is in kind of an interesting spot all the way up here. Putting your seatbelt on is kind of difficult because of these armrests. I had the same complaint with the Range Rover Sport I test drove a few years ago. But you know, this interior, it feels nice. It feels like a luxury car in here. I like this digital gauge cluster screen. I can also move the steering wheel up and down electronically. In this screen, you can adjust all kinds of stuff. I can change the display layout if I want, so I can have only one dial and a map. I can have a full map display, which is always nice to have. So yeah, it's pretty customizable. I think I'll just go back to the traditional 2-dial layout. Of course, you can also check out your usual stuff like your tire pressure, your fuel economy, all that typical stuff that you find in most cars. You can look at your music. These buttons on the steering wheel also change depending on what menu you're in. So right now it's kind of showing like volume and next track, But if I go actually into the car settings, it changes to these arrows so I can select things. That's kind of interesting, kind of unique. So you do got your two screens in here. This basically shows your readily available information, like your music and your phone, all that stuff. This down here is kind of like the car settings screen, so you can adjust your drive mode, you can adjust your climate control, and the climate controls in here aren't quite my favorite. You twist these dials to change the temperature. If you want to change the fan speed, you have to press this and use the dial. And everything in here has kind of a slow reaction. You twist the fan speed dial, it takes a few seconds to respond to your input there. It's kind of like a luxurious thing, I guess. Personally, I just like having a simple fan speed and temperature dial. This requires a bit of an extra step. But you do have your drive modes. You can press these buttons or use this dial right here. And you have quite a few. You have Eco, you have Dynamic, which is like sport mode. You also have comfort mode. You have grass, gravel, snow, mud ruts, sand, and also rock crawl. And I think we will try comfort mode at first, and we'll try sport mode later. You also have your air suspension. So right now it is lifting. And it lifts pretty quickly also, but we can also go down to the lowest setting. So normal height and access height. So basically 3 different levels for height in this Range Rover. You also have your low gear selection and your hill descent control. You also have your traction control right here. You have your dial shifter for the 8-speed automatic, and you get a backup camera. It's pretty decent, a little bit small, but the resolution is good. You also have a sport mode all the way over here, but we'll put it in park. You get your seats. You get heated seats in this sort of lower trim Range Rover. You get a couple off-road features in here. You get a low traction launch. This is kind of like if you're stuck, it'll help you get out. And also you got off-road information. If I press this, this allows you to like lock your differential for off-roading. Better traction capability, things like that. You got your center console. It's pretty decent actually. You got a car charger and HDMI, interestingly enough, 2 USBs and a micro SD card. You got these glove box openers, an upper and a lower glove box, but this one doesn't seem to be working. Maybe it's locked, I don't know, but close that up there. You got your seat controls on the side here. Nicely appointed in here, feels pretty luxurious. Screens are not my favorite. I think they're a little laggy. It takes a few extra steps to do kind of more basic stuff. Also, you got this like screensaver if you don't use this screen for a while. I find that kind of interesting, but I think we will get this Range Rover out on the road. We'll talk about how it drives here. Going over this gravel road, you know, you feel it a little bit, but it's not too bad. And when you start driving and accelerating, it'll bring you from the access height to the normal height, which is pretty nice. And I like this supercharged V6. It has a nice feel to it, nice smooth punch to it. You hear 340 horsepower and worry that it's not going to feel quite as quick for a Range Rover, for a $90,000 Range Rover. But you know, it actually is pretty quick and pretty smooth, pretty seamless. I quite like it, actually. Brakes are a little like spongy. They do have kind of that like spongy sensation to them, but honestly, you kind of want that in an SUV like this. They feel very smooth, they feel nice and powerful. You do got some of that like SUV nosedive sensation when you step on the brakes, but it's all nice and luxurious still, nice and smooth. Brakes respond pretty well for what they are. Not crazy touchy or anything, or like laser sharp, but still nice and smooth, nice and powerful. But we'll get out on the road here, try out some of the power. All right, here we go. All right. Yeah, it takes off pretty good. I definitely like it. I'll take this air freshener off here. You know, it's a little soft at the beginning of the rev range. I noticed when I first step on the gas pedal from like a dead stop, it takes a few seconds to get moving. Like there's a bit of a delay here, especially if you're on an incline. It takes like, you know, a split second to really get into gear and get moving. But once you get past that, the power delivery is nice and smooth. The shifting is very smooth, very seamless. Don't even really feel the shifts at all. Always picks the right gears. Like you never feel like it's struggling to pick the right gear or anything like that. It is a little like slow to downshift sometimes, but a little more comfort oriented, but still nice and premium, nice and smooth, which I like. I also like this steering feel. You know, it's pretty light steering, but it's got a nice precision to it, a nice smoothness to it. There's a word I use to describe this Range Rover, and it's like tactile. It's not like some crazy sports car to drive. It does have a very cushy, soft ride to it, but it's not like a boat either. It's just like nice and tactile. The steering feels like decently sharp, pretty quick. And this car feels like pretty maneuverable for its size. When I posted my video on the Range Rover Sport a few years ago, someone commented saying that they own one and that it's just like satisfying to drive. I remember reading that comment, and that's kind of how this car is. It's just like satisfying. It's a little more like cushy than the Range Rover Sport, but it just has that nice, predictable, satisfying feel to it. I have good visibility in here. Like I can see right over this front hood. I have this really clear view of the road, which I like. I have like big side mirrors, pretty thin A-pillars. Nice and quiet in here. You do hear like a little bit of tire noise, but it's nice and muted. It's nice and isolated. We'll try sport mode, actually. Dynamic mode. We'll go all the way over. Now we'll put the shifter in S mode, I think. I think that'll liven up this transmission if I put it in S mode. Because as it is, you know, it's a little bit dulled back in its normal setting. Now I can already tell it feels a little sportier. Throttle response is nice and smooth, nice and easy. Like I said, it's a little delayed at the beginning, but once you get past that, it's pretty smooth. A little bit soft in the throttle, but not anything crazy. Try out a little more power here. Alright, once it hits that range, it's just very smooth. Takes off nice and quickly, nice and easily. And we'll try some corners up ahead here, see how it does. See how it does right here. And yeah, you know, you'd be surprised. It's not some like laser sharp thing, but it feels pretty light in the corners. It glues the road really well. I mean, yeah, it's not bad. Just feels very like stuck to the road, and it feels lighter than you would expect. Despite having this really soft, cushy suspension, it goes around corners like pretty quickly. So definitely like that. I like the just nice blend. Nice and maneuverable, like pretty zippy, but also nice and smooth, nice and luxurious at the same time. Try these other corners right here, see how it does. All right. Yeah, steering is nice and snappy. Yeah, very good. You know, a little bit like wobbly, just slightly. I mean, it is an SUV, but still has that nice, light, airy kind of feeling when you take it through turns like that. And sport mode does make this 8-speed automatic a little more responsive. Kind of gives it that kick it really needs. It doesn't feel like a huge SUV either. You'd think it'd feel like kind of lumbering, kind of like a pain to drive, but actually kind of like, it feels like pretty small behind the wheel. Smaller than you would think. Alright, but I think we will take it on the highway here. See how it gets up to speed. Alright. Yeah, just gets right up to highway speeds, no problem. Just very smooth power, which I like. Try out some passing power. Takes a little bit of time to downshift, even in sport mode. But handles highway speeds great. Doesn't feel like overly wafty or anything like that. To get that good, like, crisp response, takes like at least halfway into the throttle. And I'm in sport mode, like I said, so that's kind of a drawback. The brakes are nice and smooth coming off the highway. Do like a harder braking at this light. And yeah, they respond pretty good, pretty composed. But we'll take it back on the highway here, going the other way. At the beginning of the rev range, it's a little soft, but then really kicks in after that. Alright, you guys, well, I think I'll end the video up here. Pretty sure I talked about everything with this Range Rover. Just gonna pull into this parking lot here. Yeah, very nice SUV to drive. Not anything like crazy sporty or anything, but you know, nice balance of luxury, power, nice smooth acceleration. Just like a nice blend of everything. I like the smooth, soft ride, but I like sort of like the light, more agile kind of handling it has. Very smooth drivetrain to it. A little bit of a throttle delay, a little bit laggy, not completely tuned for sport, obviously. And the screens in here, I think, could be a little bit better. They look nice, but the user interface is a little slow. To me, it could be a little bit better. But overall, yeah, I enjoyed driving this Range Rover. Nice and luxurious. Definitely like different from other cars that you'll drive. I think we will shut the engine off and we'll hop out. All right, thanks for watching, everyone.